Tap the side panel of any speaker in a showroom. A hollow drum-like echo means the money went somewhere other than the cabinet. 7 brands on this list, 5 your money should never touch, 2 that actually deserve it. 7 speaker brands. 5 of them changed hands at some point in the last decade, and every ownership change shows up somewhere inside the chassis if you know where to look. Brand number 1 on this list carries 50 years of German engineering credibility, and a private equity firm bought that credibility in 1919 without buying a single engineer who built it. Canton. What technicians find inside the current Canton GLE 476 doesn't match what the name on the box implies. The crossover uses components that cost a supplier $3 to $5 per unit, sourced from the same catalog available to brands with no German heritage at all. Open the reference series instead, where Canton's own engineering team still specifies every part, and the price jumps to roughly $2,400 a pair, 5 times higher for components that actually reflect an acoustic target. Canton Electronic was founded in Weilrod, Germany in 1972. For a generation, the name meant precision engineering at a fair price, built by people who understood cabinet resonance and driver matching. That reputation is still doing the heavy lifting on the GLE line's price tag today. Even though the private equity group DPE, which acquired Canton in 2019, has no dedicated audio engineering division anywhere in its portfolio. Technicians first noticed the shift in the cabinet bracing, thinner and less internally supported than before 2019 production, long before anyone thought to open the crossover itself and confirm what the wood already suggested. Prices mentioned are US-based estimates. Check your local market. Verdict. A German engineering brand running 2 completely different playbooks under one badge, one built to a heritage and one built to a shelf price, and the crossover tells you within seconds which one you paid for, no matter what the veneer on the outside suggests. Buy this if your budget reaches the reference series. Avoid it if you're buying GLE or Chrono, assuming the heritage carries down. It doesn't. Brand 2 follows the exact same pattern, except the buyer this time wasn't a private equity firm chasing margin. It was a manufacturing giant that already builds half the consumer electronics in your house. Dynaudio. Dynaudio was founded in Skanderborg, Denmark, in 1977 by engineers who refused to buy drivers from a catalog when they could build better ones themselves. That in-house philosophy is why the Contour and Confidence series are still cited by mastering engineers 4 decades later. Dynaudio was acquired by Gortec, a Chinese electronics manufacturing giant, in 2018. Gortec's primary business is contract assembly for other companies' consumer electronics, not acoustic research. Since the acquisition, the Entry Emit series has shifted a growing share of driver production to Gortec's own assembly lines, the same facilities that build components for dozens of unrelated consumer brands with no speaker heritage at all. A current Dynaudio Emit 20 retails around $600 a pair, using a tweeter sourced through Gortec's own supply chain rather than Dynaudio's Danish engineering team. The Contour series, where Dynaudio's own Danish-made drivers still appear, retails closer to $4,500, 7.5 times the price, for the design the company refused to outsource for 40 straight years. Verdict. The company that wouldn't buy a driver from anyone else for 40 straight years now buys them from its own parent company's factory floor at the entry level, a decision no engineer at the original Skanderborg facility would have signed off on. Buy this if your budget reaches the Contour series. Avoid it if you're buying Emit, assuming the in-house philosophy survived the acquisition. It didn't survive intact. Here's brand 3, and this one didn't get bought by anyone. It just disappeared for a decade and came back wearing someone else's engineering. KLH. KH was founded in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1957 by Henry Kloss, whose acoustic suspension work, alongside Edgar Viltour, defined an entire era of American speaker design. The original Model 6 was reference equipment in recording studios through the 60s and 70s. The name vanished from the market for over a decade before relaunching in 2017 under new ownership with zero connection to Claus's original team. The relaunched company sources cabinets and drivers from contract manufacturers in Asia, and the current Model 5 uses electrolytic capacitors in positions where the original design specified film, a substitution that changes how cleanly the tweeter and woofer hand off frequencies to each other, and one that Claus himself would almost certainly have rejected outright. It retails around $500 per pair, with no tier above it where the acoustic suspension engineering that built the original reputation ever reappears. The name is licensed now, not inherited. Verdict: a resurrected badge on a modern budget speaker with none of the engineers who made the name worth resurrecting in the first place. Buy this if you find an original 1960s or 70s KLH Model 6 working. Avoid the current relaunch expecting any connection to Claus's team. There isn't one. 3 brands in. Have you ever checked whether the company making your speakers is the same company that earned the name on the front? No sponsored gear, no manufacturer relationships, just what the technicians know. Before the final 2 on the avoid side, subscribe now. If this is the kind of breakdown you want more of. Brand 4 has the widest gap on this entire list between what the badge promises and what the entry model actually contains. The Motion 40 rings a little hollow when you tap it, which is strange for a brand built entirely on eliminating the vibration that conventional cone speakers can't avoid. Martin Logan. Martin Logan was founded in Lawrence, Kansas in 1983 by engineers pursuing electrostatic panel technology, a charged film moving air instead of a conventional cone, with distortion low enough that the original CLS panel earned genuine respect from technicians for its transparency. Martin Logan now sits under the same corporate umbrella as Paradigm and Anthem, following ownership consolidations that merged formerly independent Canadian and American engineering teams into shared component sourcing, a restructuring that happened gradually enough that most retail buyers never noticed it taking place. The Entry Motion series pairs a conventional cone woofer with a panel tweeter, and the cone driver comes from the same supply chain as the parent company's budget lines. A current Motion 40 retails for around $1,000 per pair, with the conventional cone woofer doing most of the work despite the panel tweeter on top. The electrostatic-only Electro Motion ESL series, where the original panel philosophy stays central to the design, retails closer to $2,500, 2.5 times the price for the technology the brand was actually founded on. Verdict: a pioneer of electrostatic engineering selling a hybrid line where the panel that made the name famous is optional, not standard, and the price gap between the 2 tiers tells you exactly how optional the company itself considers it. Buy this if you want Electromotion or Renaissance, where the panel is the whole point. Avoid Motion if you're buying it expecting the electrostatic heritage to define what you hear. 4 down. The 5th never had a panel or a factory worth protecting. It just quietly moved every part of production to whoever bid lowest. Magnat. Magnat was founded in Germany in 1968, and through the 80s and 90s it built a real reputation for accessible speakers that punched above their price, popular with buyers who couldn't afford Canton or Dynaudio, but still wanted honest German-influenced engineering. Magnat is now owned by DLS Group, a Swedish holding company running several budget audio brands through shared contract manufacturing. The current Monitor Supreme series uses electrolytic capacitors from the same supplier pool as brands with no German engineering history at all, and a current Monitor Supreme 802 retails around $350 per pair. Here's what separates Magnat from every other brand above it on this list. And it's the detail technician's flag first when someone brings one in for service. There's no flagship tier left where the original culture reappears at a higher price. Canton has the reference series. Dynaudio has Contour. Logan has Electromotion. Magnat has nothing above the shelf price because the entire current lineup, top to bottom, was engineered to hit exactly one cost target rather than a range of them. When every product in a catalog is built to the same number, there's no premium option left for a buyer to trade up into. Verdict: a brand with no premium option left to redeem it, because unlike everything else on this list, there's nowhere higher for a technician to point a buyer who still wants the name on the front. Buy this if you find a Magnat speaker from the 80s or 90s working. Avoid anything currently sold under the name. 5 brands, 5 different ways to charge for engineering that left the building years ago. The technicians already know what they buy instead, and neither of the next 2 ever needed rescuing from a spreadsheet. Acoustics. Acoustics was founded in Essex, England in 2006. No parent conglomerate, no acquisition history. The Concept series uses twin cabinet isolation, an outer shell mechanically decoupled from the inner driver enclosure, an approach most brands at this price point don't bother attempting because it costs more to build and complicates manufacturing at scale. A current Acoustics 3020, it retails around $250 a pair, using film capacitors in the crossover and cabinet bracing specified by the same small team that designs the $1,500 flagship Concept series above it. There's no gap between what the entry model promises and what the flagship delivers because the same engineers working from the same design brief built both to the same standard rather than 2 different ones separated by budget. Verdict: a brand where the $250 pair and the $1,500 pair were designed by the same people with the same priorities and the same standards, just different budgets to work with. Buy this if you want twin cabinet engineering at an honest price. Avoid it if you need decades of showroom recognition instead of a measurement sheet. One brand earns it by refusing to cut corners at the entry level. The last one earns it by refusing to outsource the one part everyone else gave up on. Triangle. Triangle Electroacoustique was founded in Soissons, France in 1980 under consistent ownership focused on acoustic engineering rather than portfolio management. The Borea series uses paper cone drivers, triangle designs, and builds themselves, not sourced from a catalog like everything else on this list eventually was. A current Borea BR03 retails around $600 a pair, with film capacitors throughout the crossover at a price point where most competitors on this list switch to electrolytic first, usually within a few years of a new owner taking over the sourcing decisions. Keeping driver production in-house costs. Triangle more than outsourcing would, and every brand above on this list made the opposite choice at some point in its history. Verdict: a French manufacturer that never made the trade every other name on this list eventually made, even when every financial incentive pointed toward making it. Buy this if you want imaging and mid-range clarity from a company that builds what it sells. Avoid it if you need deep bass extension without a subwoofer. The gap between a brand's cheapest product and its flagship tells you whether the founding engineers are still in the building. That's the whole video in one sentence. 3 words: inherited, consolidated, independent. Every brand that failed this list scores 0 on independent. Both that passed built that word into the company from day one. Which one surprised you most? The one that failed or the one that earned it? Drop it below. See you next time.